Hey everyone, welcome back to Psychology Hub. I'm Alex James, and today we're going to explore one of the most intriguing aspects of psychology: human behavior. If you've ever wondered why we do the things we do, what drives our decisions, emotions, and actions, you're in the right place. Whether you're looking to better understand yourself, improve your relationships, or just get a deeper insight into why people behave the way they do, this video will give you the tools to dig deeper into human behavior. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with a solid understanding of the science behind human actions, how the brain works, how our emotions shape us, how social influences play a massive role in what we do, and how cognitive biases and motivations can affect our everyday choices. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's get started. Let's start by talking about the brain. When it comes to understanding human behavior, the brain is the ultimate command center. This incredible organ consists of billions of neurons communicating with each other, controlling everything we think, feel, and do. It's through our brain that we make decisions, process our emotions, and interact with the world around us. The prefrontal cortex is one of the most important areas when it comes to decision-making. It's located in the front of the brain and is responsible for higher-level functions such as planning, reasoning, and self-control. Have you ever found yourself holding back from saying something impulsive in a heated conversation? Or maybe you resisted the temptation to indulge in an extra slice of cake. That's your prefrontal cortex at work, helping you plan and control your actions. It helps us think ahead, evaluate consequences, and make choices that align with our long-term goals. Then there's the amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped structure that plays a significant role in processing emotions, particularly those related to fear and anxiety. The amygdala is essential for survival. When it senses danger, it triggers our body's fight-or-flight response. For instance, if you're walking through the woods and hear a rustle in the bushes, your amygdala would instantly jump into action, preparing your body to react quickly. This might cause your heart rate to spike, your muscles to tense up, and your senses to sharpen. While it's crucial for survival, the amygdala can sometimes overreact, leading us to experience anxiety or fear, even when there's no immediate danger. Another key player in our brain is the dopamine system, often referred to as the reward system. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that gets released when we experience something pleasurable, such as eating a delicious meal, receiving praise, or achieving a goal. It reinforces behavior that brings us pleasure and motivates us to repeat those actions in the future. For example, after finishing a workout, many people feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. That's dopamine rewarding you for your effort and encouraging you to keep going. It's also why people get hooked on activities that bring them pleasure, like eating certain foods, playing video games, or checking social media. Dopamine makes those behaviors feel good, which can make us want to do them more. Now let's shift gears and talk about emotions and their role in our behavior. Emotions are incredibly powerful drivers of our actions. Sometimes, they even influence us more than we consciously realize. When we experience emotions like fear, anger, or happiness, they can push us to take action, change our thinking, or make decisions on the spot. Take fear, for instance. Fear is one of the most primal emotions we experience, and it plays a critical role in protecting us. Fear triggers the fight-or-flight response, a survival mechanism that prepares our body to either fight the threat or flee from it. This can be incredibly useful when we're in actual danger, say if we're faced with a wild animal or a dangerous situation. But fear can also show up in situations where there's no immediate threat, such as before a big presentation or in social settings. Sometimes, the fear is disproportionate to the actual danger. Anger is another emotion that can drive behavior. While anger can sometimes lead to negative outcomes, like conflict or regret, it can also be a powerful motivator for change. Anger often arises when we feel unjustly treated, disrespected, or frustrated. When channeled appropriately, anger can push us to stand up for ourselves or others, voice our opinions, or fight for a cause. It can be a catalyst for personal growth or social change. Just think about all the social movements that have been driven by collective anger over injustice. Happiness, on the other hand, tends to encourage us to seek out more of what brings us joy. It motivates us to nurture relationships, engage in enjoyable activities, and pursue experiences that make us feel good. Happiness can be contagious too. When we're around others who are happy, it can boost our mood and motivate us to engage in positive behaviors. But emotions don't always drive us in ways that are helpful. Sometimes, we can struggle to control them, which can lead to impulsive or regrettable actions. That's where emotional regulation comes in. Emotional regulation is the ability to manage and respond to emotions in a healthy way. If you've ever found yourself losing your temper in a stressful situation or crying uncontrollably, you know how hard it can be to regulate emotions in the heat of the moment. But the good news is that emotional regulation is a skill we can develop with practice. One technique that can help is mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being aware of your emotions without judgment and allows you to observe your feelings in the present moment. By practicing mindfulness, you can create some space between feeling and reacting, which gives you more control over your actions. Deep breathing exercises, meditation, or journaling are also great tools for improving emotional regulation. Let's move on and talk about social influences, how the people around us shape our behavior. Humans are inherently social creatures, and the way we behave is often influenced by those around us, whether we're aware of it or not. One of the most influential aspects of social behavior is social norms. Social norms are the unwritten rules that govern behavior within a group. They vary from culture to culture, and even between different settings within the same society. For example, in many cultures, it's a social norm to say please and thank you, and we're often taught from a young age that these words are important for polite interaction. In other settings, like a concert or a theater, there are norms around quiet behavior and respect for performers. Social norms help keep order in society and guide our behavior to ensure that we fit in and maintain harmony within groups. Conformity is another powerful social influence. It happens when we adjust our behavior or attitudes to match those of a group. This can be seen in simple scenarios like laughing along with others, even when we don't find something funny. It's also a key factor in more extreme behaviors, like peer pressure. In the famous Asch conformity experiments, participants were asked to give answers to a simple question, but the group was intentionally given the wrong answers. Many participants went along with the group, even though they knew the answers were wrong, simply to avoid standing out. It's fascinating how deeply we are wired to fit in with others. Obedience is another form of social influence, and it can be incredibly powerful. Obedience occurs when we follow instructions from an authority figure, even when those instructions go against our own morals or values. The Milgram experiment is a classic example of this. Participants were asked to administer what they believed were harmful electric shocks to someone, simply because an authority figure, the experimenter, told them to do so. The study showed how far people could be pushed to obey authority, even when it conflicted with their conscience. In real life, obedience plays a huge role in various aspects of society. We see it in the workplace, in schools, and even in our families. While following orders is necessary in many contexts, it's essential to remember that we also have a responsibility to question authority when it conflicts with our values. Let's shift focus now to cognitive biases. While the brain is incredibly powerful, it's not infallible. Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts our brains use to make decisions quickly, but they often lead to errors in judgment. Take confirmation bias, for example. This happens when we seek out information that supports our existing beliefs and ignore evidence that contradicts them. It's a natural tendency, but it can lead us to reinforce our prejudices or make decisions based on incomplete information. Think about a time when you've argued with someone, only to later realize that you were only considering the evidence that fit your view while disregarding information that could have challenged it. That's confirmation bias at play. Another common bias is anchoring bias. This happens when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we encounter. Let's say you're shopping for a new phone, and the first one you see is priced at $1,000. Later, you find a similar phone priced at $800, and you think it's a great deal, even though $800 might still be more than you wanted to spend. Your brain anchors to the initial price and makes the second price seem more reasonable, even though it's still relatively high. Then there's the halo effect, where we make sweeping judgments about a person based on one positive or negative trait. If someone is very attractive, for example, we might assume they're also intelligent, kind, or successful, even though there's no direct evidence to support that. This bias leads us to form impressions that are often unfair and overly simplistic. One of the most fascinating cognitive biases is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which describes how people with low ability in a particular area often overestimate their skills. It explains why some people might be overly confident about their abilities, despite lacking competence. This bias can be seen in many areas of life, from people overestimating their knowledge in a subject to individuals with little experience in a field, acting as if they are experts. Finally, let's talk about motivation. Motivation is the driving force behind everything we do, whether it's pursuing a personal goal, learning a new skill, or simply getting out of bed in the morning. There are two main types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. It's when you do something because you genuinely enjoy it or find it meaningful. For example, you might play the guitar because you love the sound of music and enjoy the creative expression it brings. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation comes from external rewards, such as money, praise, or recognition. This kind of motivation is often linked to tasks that may not be enjoyable in themselves, but the reward makes them worthwhile. For example, you might study for a test because you want to get a good grade, or because your parents will reward you for doing well. According to self-determination theory, motivation is strongest when three basic needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy is the need to feel in control of our actions. Competence is the desire to feel capable and skilled. Relatedness is the need for connection and belonging with others. When these needs are fulfilled, we are more likely to experience intrinsic motivation and engage in activities because they are fulfilling in themselves. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on your own motivation. What's something you're really motivated to do right now? Is your motivation intrinsic or extrinsic? Think about the driving forces behind your goals and what fuels your passion. Understanding your motivations can help you make more intentional choices about how you spend your time and energy. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into human behavior. I hope you found this exploration insightful and thought-provoking. Understanding the science behind what drives us can be incredibly empowering, whether you're looking to change your own behavior, understand others better, or simply be more mindful of the forces at play in your daily decisions. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to Psychology Hub for more content like this. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you learned about human behavior today? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.